Part 1. The big meeting hall on Space Station Kepler-7 was full of alien doctors. They came from 40 different planets to talk about medicine and how to help sick people. The room had bright lights and strange machines that the aliens used to show their medical work. Dr. Velik stood at the front. He was a Taraxian, which meant he looked like a big purple creature with tentacles and a throat that puffed up when he talked. He was showing pictures of broken bones and how his people fixed them. In the back of the room sat Jake Morrison. He was the only human in a room full of hundreds of aliens. Jake wore his military uniform with medals on his chest. He sat quietly and listened. The other doctors whispered about him. Humans were new to space. Most aliens thought human medicine was old and rough. Dr. Velix finished his talk. His throat puffed up with pride. He said that when someone broke a bone very badly, his people could fix it in 3 days. They put the patient in a special healing machine. They gave the patient drugs so it did not hurt. The bone grew back together perfectly. All the alien doctors made happy sounds. They thought 3 days was very fast. Then Jake spoke from the back of the room. 3 days is too long for a broken bone. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at Jake. Dr. Velix's purple skin got darker. His throat sac puffed up bigger. "What did you say, human? Do you think you know better than me?" Jake stood up slowly. He was calm. "I am not saying better, doctor. I am saying faster. Human doctors can fix a broken bone in 2 minutes. The person can fight again in 1 hour." The aliens started talking loudly. Some made clicking sounds. Others changed colors. A doctor made of crystal named Shira turned around in her seat. She spoke in a voice that sounded like bells ringing. "That is not possible. The pain would kill any living thing. You humans must not feel pain like we do." Jake shook his head. "We feel pain. We feel all of it. But feeling pain does not mean we stop. We do what needs to be done." Dr. Velix's skin turned almost black with anger. "And I suppose your people do this with medicine that stops the pain? You must have amazing drugs. Sometimes we have no drugs at all," Jake said. His voice stayed calm and quiet. The room exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in many different languages. A doctor who looked like a big beetle jumped up from his seat. His voice was loud and angry. "You fix bones with no pain medicine? That is torture. Your people should be arrested. The Galactic Council should investigate humans for being cruel." Jake's face got hard, but his voice stayed level. "It is not torture when the choice is dying. In a battle, you do what you must do. I saw a soldier named Danny Price get shot through the leg. The bone broke into pieces. A field doctor fixed his leg while bullets were flying past them. Danny kept shooting his gun for 20 more minutes until help came. Nobody spoke. Dr. Shira's crystal body stopped glowing so bright. She spoke carefully. "You say this soldier kept fighting? With his leg broken?" "That cannot be real. I was there," Jake said. "I was the doctor who fixed his leg. I held his bone in my hands. I pushed it back into place while he bit down on a piece of leather." He screamed. Then he picked up his rifle and started shooting again. I watched him do it. The silence in the room was heavy. Nobody knew what to say. These aliens had the best medicine in the galaxy. They could grow new organs. They could heal almost any wound. But they could not imagine doing what Jake described. Dr. Velik sat down slowly. His color changed from black to a lighter purple. He looked confused. Why would anyone do this? Why not wait for proper treatment? Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces watching him. Because Danny's friends needed him. Because if he stopped fighting, they would die. Because sometimes you do not get to choose when you fight and when you rest. You fight until you cannot fight anymore. That is what humans do. A small alien doctor with big eyes spoke up. Her voice was soft. "But surely the soldier went unconscious from the pain. Surely his brain shut down to protect him." "Some soldiers do pass out," Jake admitted, "but not Danny. He stayed awake the whole time. He had to. His squad was surrounded. If he slept, they would all die. So he stayed awake. He stayed in the fight." Dr. Shira stood up. Her crystal body made a humming sound. "I would like to understand this better. I have studied many species across the galaxy. All of them avoid pain. All of them seek comfort. But humans seem different. You seek to complete your mission even if it hurts you badly. This is not normal behavior for intelligent life." "Maybe it is not normal," Jake said, "but it kept us alive on Earth. Our world was full of animals that wanted to eat us. We had diseases. We had terrible weather. We had to be tough or we died. The ones who gave up did not survive. The ones who kept going even when hurt, they lived. They had children. They passed down their strength. That is why humans are the way we are. The beetle doctor spoke again, but his voice was not angry anymore. It sounded curious. So you are saying this is evolution? Your bodies learned to ignore pain because it helped you survive? Not ignore it, Jake corrected. We feel every bit of pain, but we learn to keep working anyway. Pain is just information. It tells us something is wrong. But it does not control us. We control ourselves. Dr. Valek stood up again. He looked at Jake with new eyes. His anger was gone. Now he looked interested. Lieutenant Commander Morrison, I think I judged you too quickly. What you describe sounds impossible to us, but perhaps we simply do not understand human biology. Would you be willing to show us how this works? Jake nodded. I can show you, but you need to understand something. What we do is not magic. It is training. It is practice. It is knowing that sometimes the mission is more important than the pain. Any human can learn it. We teach our soldiers these skills because we know that in war, you do not always have medicine. You do not always have time. You have to work with what you have. Dr. Shira's light pulsed with excitement. Then please, Lieutenant Commander, teach us. Help us understand. We have so much to learn from your species. The meeting ended with many aliens wanting to talk to Jake. They asked him questions about human medicine. They wanted to know how human bodies worked. They wanted to understand why humans could do things that seemed impossible. Jake answered their questions patiently. He explained about adrenaline, the chemical that makes humans stronger when scared. He told them about human history, about wars and survival. He talked about the bond between soldiers, how humans will die for each other. As the aliens left the meeting hall, they talked among themselves. Some still did not believe Jake's stories. They thought he was lying or exaggerating, but others were curious. They wanted to see proof. They wanted to understand these strange humans who had just joined the galactic community. Jake stayed behind after everyone left. He looked at the empty chairs and thought about Danny Price. He remembered that day on the battlefield. He remembered the blood and the screaming and the sound of bullets hitting metal. He remembered Danny's face, twisted in pain but still focused on his rifle. The aliens did not understand yet, but maybe they would learn. Maybe they would see that humans were not cruel or barbaric. Humans were survivors. They did what they had to do. And in this big galaxy full of advanced aliens, maybe that made humans special in their own way. Jake left the meeting hall and walked down the station corridors. Tomorrow he would show them. Tomorrow they would see what human medicine really looked like. And maybe, just maybe, they would understand why humans did things the way they did. Not because it was easy, not because it was painless, but because it worked, because it saved lives, because when everything went wrong, humans could still function. They could still fight. They could still save their friends. That was the human way, and Jake was proud of it. The next morning, Jake woke up early in his small room on the station. He had many messages on his communication device. Alien doctors from all over the galaxy wanted to talk to him. Some messages were angry. Some were curious. All of them wanted to know more about human medicine. Jake got dressed and went to the station cafeteria. The food there was strange. The station tried to have meals for many different species. Jake got something that looked close to eggs and sat down at an empty table. Dr. Velix walked up to his table. The big purple alien looked different today. Yesterday he was angry. Today he seemed curious and a little embarrassed. May I sit with you, Lieutenant Commander Morrison? Jake nodded and pointed at the chair across from him. Please call me Jake. Dr. Velix sat down carefully. His tentacles moved in patterns that Jake was learning meant nervousness. Jake, I want to say I am sorry for yesterday. I was rude to you. I should have listened better. But you must understand, what you described goes against everything my people know about medicine. We have spent 10,000 years learning how to heal without causing pain. The idea of deliberately hurting a patient is very hard for us to accept. Jake put down his fork. I understand, Doctor. Human medicine grew differently. We come from a dangerous world. We had big animals that hunted us. We had sickness that killed many people. We had hot deserts and frozen mountains. We learned to be tough because if we were not tough, we died. It is that simple. Dr. Shira appeared at their table. Her crystal body caught the light from the cafeteria windows. She did not eat food like other species. She absorbed energy directly from light. May I join this conversation? Both Jake and Dr. Velix welcomed her. She sat down and her body made soft musical sounds as she arranged herself. I have been reading human books all night, she said. Your species has many stories of people doing amazing things while hurt. I read about a human woman named Karen Woods who flew a broken spaceship with 3 broken ribs and a damaged lung. She saved 43 people. Is this story true? Jake smiled a sad smile. I know Karen. I served with her. Yes, the story is true. She was in terrible pain. Every breath hurt her, but she kept flying because those 43 people needed her. She passed out right after landing the ship, but she got them home safe first. Dr. Shira's body glowed brighter. This is what I do not understand. How can pain be ignored like this? In my species, pain stops all other thoughts. It demands attention. How do humans put it aside? We do not put it aside, Jake explained. We feel every bit of it, but we learn to work through it. We train our minds. We focus on what needs to be done. The pain is there shouting at us, but we listen to our duty louder than we listen to the pain. A new voice joined them. It was Dr. Crix, the beetle-like alien who had been angry yesterday. Today, he sounded more interested than angry. This is deliberate training? You teach people to suffer? Jake shook his head. We teach people to survive. We teach them that pain is temporary, but death is permanent. We teach them that their mission matters more than their comfort. Human soldiers go through training where they learn to keep working when tired, hungry, cold, and hurt. By the time they finish training, they know they can handle more than they thought possible. Dr. Velix leaned forward. His throat sac pulsed slowly. I would like to see this with my own eyes. Not hurting a real human, of course. But perhaps you could show us using training equipment? The station has medical simulation machines. Jake thought about this. I can do that. But you need to know something. A simulation will not show you the most important part. The simulation cannot show you what it is like when the person you are helping is your friend. It cannot show you the fear and the need to keep working no matter what. It cannot show you the bond between soldiers who depend on each other. Dr. Shira's light pulsed with understanding. You are saying that humans are stronger when protecting others? That the social connection gives you more strength? Exactly, Jake said. A human mother can lift a car to save her child. A soldier can fight with broken bones to save his squad. Love and duty make us stronger than we could ever be alone. The demonstration was set for that evening. Word spread quickly through the conference. By the time Jake arrived at the medical simulation room, it was packed with alien doctors. They filled every seat and stood in the aisles. Everyone wanted to see what human field medicine looked like. The simulation dummy was very advanced. It had fake bones, fake muscles, and sensors that could measure pain levels. Dr. Velix had programmed it to have a bad broken leg. The bone was broken in 3 places and sticking through the fake skin. It looked very realistic. Jake looked at the dummy and then at the crowd. In a real battle, you have very little time. Blood loss can kill someone in minutes. You cannot waste time being gentle. You must be fast and effective. Watch carefully. He bent over the dummy and put his hands on the broken leg. First, I checked the damage. The bone is broken and pushed out through the skin. This is called a compound fracture. Very dangerous because of infection risk. But right now, bleeding and shock are the biggest dangers. Jake's hands moved quickly and surely. He pushed the bone back into place with firm, confident movements. The simulation machine beeped loudly, showing that the pain levels were extremely high. Several aliens made shocked sounds. Within 2 minutes, Jake had the leg straightened, stabilized with temporary supports, and wrapped to control bleeding. He stepped back and looked at the timer. 1 minute and 47 seconds. In a real situation, I would now give pain medicine if I had it start fluids through an IV needle and call for evacuation. Total time, about 4 minutes from start to finish. The room was silent. Then Dr. Crick stood up. His voice was full of disbelief. The simulation showed that procedure would cause pain levels high enough to make most species lose consciousness or die from shock. How does a human stay awake through that? Jake's face was serious. Many do not stay awake. Many humans pass out from this kind of pain. But some stay conscious, especially trained soldiers. They bite down on something. They focus on their breathing. They think about their mission or their friends. And they endure. Dr. Velix stood up. His color had changed to a thoughtful shade of light purple. Lieutenant Commander, I am beginning to understand. This is not about being cruel. This is about saving lives when conditions are not perfect. You do what must be done because the alternative is letting someone die. Yes, Jake said simply. In perfect conditions, we use pain medicine. We take our time. We make the patient comfortable. But in war, conditions are never perfect. You work with what you have. You do your best. And you accept that it will hurt because pain is better than death. Dr. Shira spoke up. Her voice had a new respect in it. I want to meet this soldier you spoke of yesterday. This Danny Price who kept fighting with a broken leg. I want to hear his story from his own mouth. Would that be possible? Jake smiled. I can contact him. Danny is retired now, but I think he would be willing to come here. He is proud of what human soldiers can do. He would want you to understand. Later that night, Jake sent a message to Earth. He told Danny about the conference and the alien doctors who did not believe human stories. He asked if Danny would come to the station to tell his story. Danny's reply came back quickly. It said only 3 words, I will come. Jake smiled when he read it. Danny had always been a man of few words, but when he made a promise, he kept it. The alien doctors wanted proof that humans could do what Jake claimed. Well, they were about to get that proof. Over the next few days, more alien doctors approached Jake. They were not angry anymore. Now they were curious. They asked questions about human biology. They wanted to know about human evolution. They asked about human culture and why humans valued duty and honor so much. Jake answered all their questions patiently. He explained that humans evolved as hunters who chased their food for many miles. He told them about human history, about wars and survival. He talked about how humans learned to work together in groups because alone they were weak, but together they were strong. The aliens listened and learned. They were starting to understand that humans were not crazy or cruel. Humans were practical. They did what worked. And what worked for humans was being tough, working together and never giving up no matter how much it hurt. 3 days later, Danny Price arrived at the station. Jake met him at the docking bay. Danny walked with a slight limp, a permanent reminder of that day on the battlefield. But he still stood straight and tall. He still had the look of a soldier even in civilian clothes. The 2 men shook hands firmly. It was good to see each other again. They had been through war together. They had saved each other's lives. That kind of bond never broke. Ready to tell your story to some very curious aliens? Jake asked with a grin. Danny grinned back. Ready as I will ever be. Let us show them what humans are made of. Wanted to hear from the human soldier who had fought with a broken leg. They filled every seat. Some stood against the walls. Others floated near the ceiling if their species could fly. Everyone was curious. Danny Price stood at the front of the room. He wore simple civilian clothes with his old military medals pinned to his chest. His hands were steady, but Jake could see he was nervous. Danny was a soldier, not a public speaker. But he had come all this way to tell his story. Dr. Shira introduced him. Her crystal body glowed with excitement. We are honored to have the conference hall was more crowded than ever before. Every alien doctor urgent Danny Price with us today. He has traveled from Earth to share his experience with us. Please listen with open minds and hearts. Danny stepped forward and looked out at all the strange alien faces watching him. He took a deep breath and began to speak. My name is Danny Price. 5 years ago, I was a Marine sergeant on a planet called Arcturus 4. My squad was guarding a mining colony. We were not expecting trouble. Then everything went wrong very fast. He paused and his eyes looked far away, remembering. We got ambushed by hostile forces. They came at us from 3 sides with heavy weapons. We took cover behind mining equipment and started shooting back. There were 12 of us against maybe 40 of them. The odds were bad. The aliens in the audience were completely silent. They leaned forward to hear every word. I was the squad marksman. My job was to shoot the enemy from far away with a precise rifle. I was behind a metal barrier taking careful shots when I got hit. A railgun round went through my right leg. It felt like someone hit my leg with a hammer made of fire. I looked down and saw bones sticking out through my armor. Blood was everywhere. Dr. Valix raised a tentacle. Forgive me for interrupting, Sergeant. But what was your first thought when you saw this injury? Danny smiled grimly. My first thought was that this was bad. My second thought was that my squad still needed me. We had 1 person already wounded. Our squad leader was trying to organize everyone. We were pinned down and losing. If I stopped fighting, more of my friends would get hurt or killed. He continued his story. Then Jake crawled over to me. He looked at my leg and said it needed to be fixed right away. I asked him if we had any pain medicine. He said no. We used it all on the first wounded person, so I said to just do it. Fix my leg so I could keep fighting. The room was so quiet you could hear the air circulation system humming. Every alien was focused completely on Danny's words. Jake gave me a piece of my equipment strap to bite down on. Then he grabbed my leg. What happened next was the worst pain I ever felt in my life. He pulled the bone back into place. It felt like my whole leg was on fire. I bit down on that strap so hard I nearly broke my teeth. I wanted to scream, but I did not want to scare the younger Marines, so I kept it inside as much as I could. Dr. Crick stood up suddenly. His voice was full of disbelief. "And you remained conscious during this? Your brain did not shut down to protect you?" Danny shook his head. "I stayed awake. I had to. I used a technique they taught us in training. You focus on your breathing. In through your nose, slow and steady. Out through your mouth. You think of the pain as just information. Your body is telling you something is wrong. You already know it is wrong. You do not need to think about it anymore. You just focus on breathing and getting through the next second, then the next second, then the next." Dr. Shira's crystal body hummed with a sound like confusion mixed with respect. "And after this procedure was complete, you continued fighting?" "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. As soon as Jake finished wrapping my leg, I picked up my rifle again. I could not stand up anymore, so I stayed on the ground. But I could still shoot. My squad needed covering fire, and I could provide it. So that is what I did. A small alien in the front row spoke up. Her voice was soft and sad. But surely the pain was overwhelming. How could you aim a weapon accurately while in such agony? Danny was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. The pain was there. Every second. Like a fire burning in my leg. But I had trained for thousands of hours with my rifle. My body knew what to do. I let my training take over. I focused on my breathing, on my targets, on my mission. The pain was screaming at me, but I was not listening to it. I was listening to my squad leader calling out targets. I was listening to my friends who needed my help. "How long did you fight like this?" Dr. Velix asked. 23 minutes, Danny replied. "I know because I checked my armor's computer later. I fired approximately 200 rounds. My accuracy was lower than normal because of the pain and the angle I was shooting from, but I hit enough targets to help. Eventually, evacuation shuttles arrived and we got out of there. That is when I finally let myself stop. I passed out on the shuttle ride to the medical ship. Jake stood up from his seat in the audience. The room's attention shifted to him. I want to add something to Danny's story. When we finally got him to proper medical facilities, the doctor said his leg was badly damaged. He needed surgery and months of recovery. But because we set the bone quickly in the field, we prevented additional damage. If we had waited, he might have lost his leg completely. Fast field medicine saved his leg. Danny nodded. That is true. It hurt badly when Jake fixed my leg. But if he had not done it, I would be walking on an artificial leg today. Instead, I just have a limp and some scars. I would take pain over losing my leg any day. A Thren doctor in the back stood up. His voice was no longer accusatory like before. Now it sounded thoughtful. "I called human medicine barbaric yesterday. I was wrong. What you did was practical. You made the best choice from bad options. You accepted pain to achieve a better outcome. This is not cruelty. This is wisdom." Danny looked at the alien doctor. "Thank you for understanding. Humans do not enjoy pain. We do not seek it out. But we have learned that sometimes enduring pain is necessary. We do it to save lives. We do it to protect people we care about. We do it because the alternative is worse." Dr. Shira stood up. Her light was bright and steady. "Sergeant Price, I have studied many species across this galaxy. I have learned about their evolution, their psychology, their medicine. But I have never encountered anything like what you describe. Your species has developed a unique relationship with pain and suffering. You can acknowledge it, feel it fully, and yet continue functioning at a high level. This is remarkable." Danny smiled slightly. "Maybe it is remarkable to you. To humans, it is just what we do. My drill instructors used to say that pain is weakness leaving the body. I am not sure I agree with that exactly. But I do know that facing pain makes you stronger, learning that you can endure more than you thought possible. That changes you. It gives you confidence. It teaches you that you are tougher than you knew." Dr. Valek spoke up. His color was a warm, friendly purple now. "Sergeant Price, you mentioned other members of your squad. Did they also fight while injured?" Danny's face became more serious. "Yes, sir. Corporal Lisa Grant took shrapnel in her shoulder. She kept fighting. Staff Sergeant Henry Chen got hit in the head and had a concussion. He stayed in command and led us until the evacuation arrived. Private Kevin Blake had burns on his hands but kept loading ammunition for the machine gun. Everyone was hurt in some way, but everyone kept fighting. That is what Marines do. The alien doctors looked at each other. They were starting to understand. This was not one unusual human. This was normal for trained human soldiers. All of them could do this. All of them would do this if needed. A question came from the audience. Why do you fight so hard? Why not retreat and come back later when you are healed? Danny looked at whoever asked the question. Because sometimes there is no later. Those miners we were protecting did not have time for us to retreat and heal and come back. They needed us right then. If we had run away, they would have died. We took an oath to protect people. That oath does not stop just because we get hurt. He paused and looked around the room at all the different alien species. I think maybe humans are different from many of you because of how we evolved. We are not the biggest or strongest or fastest. We do not have claws or armor or poison. What we have is endurance. We outlast our problems. We keep going when others stop. That is our strength. That is what makes humans special. The room erupted in discussion. Aliens talked to each other in many languages. Some were convinced now. Others still had doubts but were willing to learn more. All of them looked at Danny and Jake with new eyes. These humans were not barbaric. They were survivors. They were warriors who refused to quit. Dr. Shira came up to Danny after the presentation ended. Many other doctors wanted to talk to him too, but she got there first. Sergeant Price, thank you for sharing your story. You have taught us something important today. Would you be willing to stay for a few more days? I think many of my colleagues would like to learn more about human psychology and medicine. Danny looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. Sure, I can stay, Danny said. If it helps people understand humans better, it is worth my time. Over the next few days, Danny answered countless questions. He showed them scars from his many years of service. He explained human military training. He told stories of other soldiers he had known who had done brave things while injured. The alien doctors listened and learned and slowly began to understand what made humans tick. And Jake watched it all with quiet satisfaction. After Danny's presentation, the whole conference changed. The alien doctors stopped arguing about whether humans were telling the truth. Now they wanted to understand how human bodies and minds worked. They wanted to learn why humans could do things that seemed impossible. Dr. Velix invited Jake to his laboratory. It was a big room filled with screens showing cells and bones and other body parts. Everything was clean and bright and organized. Dr. Velix moved around his lab, touching controls and bringing up information. Jake, I have been studying human evolution. Your planet Earth was a dangerous place. You had predators that hunted you. You had extreme weather. You had diseases. It seems that humans evolved to be very tough because they had to be. Is this correct? Jake nodded. Yes, that is what our scientists believe. Humans were not the strongest animal on Earth. We did not have claws or big teeth. We were not very fast, but we could run for a long time. We could track animals for hours or even days until they were too tired to run anymore. We were endurance hunters. We won by never giving up. Dr. Shira appeared in the doorway. Her crystal body reflected the lab lights in beautiful patterns. I have been analyzing the video recordings from the battle on Arcturus 4. I obtained them from military records with proper permission. Sergeant Price's body produced stress chemicals at levels that would be fatal to most species. Yet he continued functioning. Human stress response is far beyond what should be biologically possible. Jake smiled, but it was a sad smile. Yes, humans can push themselves very hard. But there is a cost. Danny spent 8 months recovering from that battle. His leg healed, but his mind took longer. We call it psychological trauma. When you push yourself that hard, when you experience that much pain and stress, it affects your mental health. Danny had nightmares for a long time. He needed help from mind doctors to process what he went through. Dr. Velix's color changed to a concerned shade. So this ability is not without consequences. It damages the individual even as it saves lives. Nothing is free, Jake said quietly. We pay for our toughness with our mental health sometimes. We pay with chronic pain. We pay with injuries that never fully heal. But we make that choice because we value protecting others more than protecting ourselves. That is part of being human. Dr. Crix entered the lab. She had several floating screens following her that showed data and charts. I have been comparing human medicine to the medical practices of 43 other species. Most galactic species prioritize patient comfort and long recovery times. Humans prioritize getting people back to function quickly, even if it means more pain. This is a completely different philosophy. Jake thought about this. It is not that we do not care about comfort. Of course we do. But humans are practical. When you are in a war, you need soldiers who can keep fighting. When you are on a ship far from help, you need crew members who can do their jobs even if injured. We cannot always afford the luxury of long, comfortable recovery, so we developed medicine that works fast even if it is not pleasant. Dr. Shira's light pulsed thoughtfully. There is something else I noticed in the data. The strongest examples of human endurance happen when humans are protecting others. Sergeant Price fighting for his squad, Lieutenant Woods saving shuttle passengers, parents protecting children. It seems that your social bonds make you even stronger. Is this true? Absolutely true, Jake confirmed. Humans are social animals. We evolved living in groups. A human alone is vulnerable, but humans working together can accomplish amazing things. We have a saying on Earth, no one is left behind. It means we never abandon our people. We will risk ourselves to save others. This is not logical from an individual survival perspective, but it makes sense for group survival. If everyone knows the group will protect them, they are willing to risk more for the group. Dr. Velix was quiet for a long moment. His tentacles moved in patterns that Jake had learned meant deep thinking. Lieutenant Commander, I owe you another apology. When I first heard about your medical practices, I called them barbaric. I said they were cruel and primitive. But now I understand that they are actually sophisticated. You developed techniques for the real world, not the ideal world. You accepted that conditions would be imperfect and you adapted. There is great wisdom in that. Thank you, Doctor, Jake said. But I hope we can learn from each other. Your regenerative medicine could save many human lives. Your technology for growing new tissue and healing without scars is amazing. And maybe our field medicine techniques could help your people when they do not have access to advanced facilities. We each have knowledge the other needs. Dr. Crix's antennae waved with excitement. Yes, this is an excellent idea. We should create a joint program. Human doctors and alien doctors working together. We combine your practical field experience with our advanced healing technology. Together we could save more lives than either of us could save alone. Dr. Shira's crystal body glowed brightly. I support this completely. Humanity has much to teach the galaxy about resilience and determination. We have much to offer in terms of advanced medical science. A partnership would benefit everyone. Over the next week, the idea grew. More alien doctors joined the discussions. They talked about how human field medicine could be combined with alien healing technology. They imagined medical teams with both humans and aliens working together in emergency situations. Danny participated in many of these discussions. He told them what soldiers needed in combat medical situations. He explained the importance of speed. He talked about the psychological aspects of battlefield medicine and how having a medic who refuses to give up can keep injured soldiers fighting. The aliens listened carefully. They took notes. They asked questions. They were learning to see humans not as primitive newcomers but as partners who had valuable knowledge to share. One evening, Jake and Danny sat together in the station observation lounge. They looked out at the stars through the huge window. Neither spoke for a while. They were comfortable with silence after years of serving together. Finally, Danny spoke. Do you think they really understand now? Jake considered the question. I think they are starting to. They see that we are not crazy or cruel. They understand that we do what we must do, and I think some of them respect it now. Danny nodded slowly. That is all we can ask for, really. Respect. Understanding. Not everyone has to agree with our methods, but if they understand why we do things our way, that is enough. They are scared of us too, Jake added, not in a bad way. But they realize now that humans are dangerous when pushed. We do not quit. We do not surrender easily. Even badly injured, we keep fighting. That makes humans valuable allies but also concerning enemies. Good, Danny said firmly. Let them be a little scared. Humans are new to the galaxy. We need to prove we belong here. Showing them what we can endure, what we can survive, that proves we are serious. We are not going anywhere. We will fight for our place among the stars just like we fought for everything else in our history. Jake smiled. You sound like a recruitment poster. Be all you can be. Join the Space Marines, Danny laughed. Maybe I should write recruitment posters when I retire. I am good at inspiring speeches, apparently. These aliens cannot get enough of my war stories. They sat in comfortable silence again, watching the stars. Both men were thinking about the future, about humans and aliens working together, about combining the best of both approaches to medicine, about building something new and better than what either species had alone. The next day, Dr. Shira called a special meeting. She had prepared a formal proposal for the Galactic Medical Council. She wanted to create an official program called the Joint Species Medical Response Initiative. Teams would include doctors from multiple species. They would train together to combine different medical approaches. The proposal was detailed and well-researched. Dr. Shira had worked all night on it with help from Dr. Valix and Dr. Crix. They outlined how human field medicine techniques could be enhanced with alien healing technology. They showed projections of how many more lives could be saved with combined approaches. Jake and Danny sat in the audience as Dr. Shira presented the proposal. They watched as screen after screen showed data supporting the idea. They saw diagrams of how joint medical teams would work. They saw training schedules and equipment lists and deployment plans. When Dr. Shira finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then every alien doctor stood up. They made sounds of approval in dozens of different ways. Chirps, hums, color changes, light pulses. All of them meant the same thing. Yes, this was a good idea. This should happen. Dr. Valix stood and addressed the room. His voice was strong and confident. Colleagues, we have witnessed something important this week. We have learned that our way is not the only way. We have learned that different species can have different but equally valid approaches to medicine. Most importantly, we have learned that by working together we can save more lives than we ever could alone. I fully support this initiative. The vote was unanimous. Every doctor approved the proposal. The Joint Species Medical Response Initiative would become reality. Human doctors and alien doctors would train together. They would learn each other's techniques. They would deploy together to emergency situations across the galaxy. Aphion. His peep. 3 months passed quickly. The Joint Species Medical Response Initiative was now real. The first mixed team of human and alien doctors was ready for their first mission. Jake Morrison was part of this team. So were Dr. Velix, Dr. Shira, and 12 other specialists from various species. They received an emergency call from a colony on the border of explored space. The colony was under attack by hostile forces. Their medical facility was destroyed. Many people were wounded. The defense garrison was badly outnumbered and falling back. They needed help immediately. The medical team arrived in their specially equipped ship. They could hear explosions in the distance as they landed. Smoke rose from several buildings. Wounded soldiers were being carried to a makeshift aid station near the landing pad. Jake took charge immediately. His voice was calm but commanding. We are setting up a forward aid station 200 meters behind the defensive line. Dr. Velix, your regeneration machines are for the most critical cases. Dr. Shira, you coordinate who gets treated in what order. Everyone else. We are doing combat medicine now. Fast treatment. Get people stable and back to fighting if they can. Move quickly. Dr. Velix looked nervous. His tentacles moved in worried patterns. Lieutenant Commander, we have never operated this close to active combat before. Our equipment requires controlled environments with stable power and clean conditions. This is not ideal. Then we adapt, Jake said firmly. This is exactly what I tried to explain at the conference. Combat is never ideal. Conditions are never perfect. We work anyway because lives depend on us. Now let us move. The team set up quickly. Alien doctors who had never worked in combat conditions found themselves doing exactly that. The sound of weapons firing was constant. The ground shook from explosions. Wounded people kept arriving in waves. Everyone was scared, but everyone worked. The next 6 hours were chaos and intensity. Wounded soldiers from a dozen different species came through the aid station. Some had burns. Some had broken bones. Some had wounds from energy weapons or projectile guns. The medical team worked together smoothly despite the terrible conditions. Jake was treating patients with quick, efficient movements. He set bones, stopped bleeding, and stabilized injuries just like he had done hundreds of times before. But now, alien doctors with advanced technology followed right behind him. They used regeneration beams to accelerate healing. They applied alien medicines that worked faster than human drugs. They scanned for internal damage with devices humans did not have. A young Marine named Private Kevin Blake came in. He had a compound fracture in his leg almost identical to what Danny Price had suffered years before. Jake looked at the injury and immediately knew what to do. He called Dr. Velix over. Watch closely, doctor. This is the procedure I demonstrated at the conference. But now you can follow with your regeneration treatment immediately. Jake gave Private Blake something to bite down on and quickly reset the broken bone. The young Marine screamed but stayed conscious. His hands gripped the edges of the stretcher so hard his knuckles turned white. But Jake's hands never stopped moving. Within 2 minutes, the bone was aligned and stabilized. Immediately, Dr. Shira moved in with her regeneration beam. Her crystal body glowed as she focused healing energy on the injury. The bone began knitting together much faster than it would naturally. The swelling decreased. The bleeding stopped completely. Private Blake looked down at his leg in amazement. The pain was already decreasing. The bone felt stable. Within 30 minutes, he was standing up carefully. An hour later, he was back on the defensive line with his squad. His leg was not fully healed, but it was strong enough to fight. He would recover completely over the next few days instead of the next few months. Dr. Velix watched all this with wonder. His skin color shifted through several shades of purple. This is remarkable. By combining our methods, we created something far better than either approach alone. The human speed and practicality with our regenerative technology. Together we save time and reduce suffering. That is what cooperation means, Jake said while already moving to the next patient. We each bring our strengths. Together we are better. As the battle continued, more examples of successful cooperation emerged. Dr. Crix used her species' ability to sense nerve damage. This allowed human medics to perform more precise repairs. A Thren doctor's natural exoskeleton techniques proved perfect for stabilizing spine injuries quickly. Dr. Shira's energy manipulation let her seal wounds instantly, saving precious seconds that often meant the difference between life and death. The alien doctors learned quickly. They saw how human medics worked under pressure. They understood now why speed mattered so much. They realized that perfect healing done too slowly was worse than good healing done immediately. They adapted their techniques for combat conditions, and the human medics learned too. They discovered alien medicines that worked faster with fewer side effects. They learned scanning techniques that could find internal injuries invisible to human eyes. They studied regeneration methods that could heal wounds that would cripple a human permanently. Finally, after hours of intense fighting, the hostile forces withdrew. The colony defenders had held their ground. The medical team had treated over 300 casualties. Only a handful had died, far fewer than would have died with either human or alien medicine alone. The colony military commander was a Taraxian general named Krex. He came to the medical station personally to thank the team. His uniform was dirty and he looked exhausted, but his voice was strong. Your combined methods saved my soldiers today. Human determination and alien precision working together. I have never seen anything like it. This is the future of military medicine. This is how we should always work. That evening, the medical team gathered around a campfire near their ship. Everyone was completely exhausted. Their clothes were dirty and stained. Some had minor injuries themselves, but there was satisfaction in the air. They had done good work. They had saved lives that would have been lost before. Dr. Velix approached Jake. His skin was a warm, friendly purple color. Lieutenant Commander Jake, I understand now what you tried to teach us at the conference. Human medicine is not about being tough or ignoring pain. It is about doing what must be done when circumstances are not perfect. There is profound wisdom in accepting imperfection and working anyway. Jake gripped Dr. Velix's tentacle in a gesture of friendship. And I understand now that your technology gives us possibilities we never had. That regeneration work you did today saved lives we would have lost in the field before. We need both philosophies, human practicality and alien innovation together. Dr. Shira's crystal body glowed softly in the firelight. Today proved that our differences make us stronger together. Human resilience combined with galactic precision creates something better than either alone. This should be expanded. Every combat zone should have mixed species medical teams like ours. Dr. Crix's antennae waved in agreement. I will propose this formally to the Galactic Medical Council. What we accomplished here deserves recognition and widespread implementation. This is a model for how species should cooperate. 6 months later, the Galactic Council officially recognized and expanded the Joint Species Medical Response Program. Teams of human and alien physicians trained together at facilities across the galaxy. They learned each other's techniques. They practiced combining different approaches. The program became one of the most successful examples of interspecies cooperation in galactic history. Danny Price, now serving as a senior advisor to the program, gave a speech at the official dedication ceremony. He stood on a stage in front of thousands of beings from hundreds of species. His voice was broadcast across the galaxy. What started as disbelief became understanding. What seemed like weakness became recognized strength. Humans fight through pain not because we are tougher than everyone else. We do it because sometimes there is no other choice. And now, thanks to our galactic partners, we are learning ways to reduce that pain while maintaining effectiveness. That is real progress. That is what cooperation means. Jake stood in the audience beside Dr. Velix, watching his old friend speak. The Taraxian physician's skin glowed with pride. "Your Sergeant Price is completely correct," Dr. Velix said softly. "We were so focused on eliminating all suffering that we forgot sometimes sacrifice is necessary for greater good. You humans reminded us of that truth. In return, we hope we have made your necessary sacrifices less painful and more survivable." "You have," Jake replied. "And more importantly, we have learned to respect each other's approaches. That mutual respect is what makes this partnership work so well." As the ceremony continued with speeches and celebrations, Jake thought about how far they had come. From that contentious moment at the medical conference to this celebration of successful cooperation. Humanity had proven they belonged in the galactic community. Not by being strongest or most advanced, but by being willing to endure, to sacrifice, to push through impossible circumstances when it mattered most. And in return, the galactic community had shared their knowledge, their compassion, their different perspectives on healing and recovery. Together, they were creating something neither could achieve separately. Private Kevin Blake stood among the honor guard at the ceremony. He was fully